Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from Eleanor Tourette. Senate Dems say they want to work with the Republican colleagues to move forward quickly on bipartisan crypto market structure legislation. Digital Asset Investor says it's happening because crypto is national security, but there will be drama. The politicians are going to milk this for TV time. The good thing is this, when it comes to that market structure bill, the timeline hasn't changed. It looks like it's still going to be put in place by the end of 2025. It's going to happen in the middle of alt season. So many things are lining up to happen during this alt season. Catalyst after catalyst. And they absolutely fear XRP. Bitcoin is much faster than your favorite shitcoin. And take notice, they're citing the Lightning Network. What they don't realize is you can move Bitcoin over the XRP ledger for a fraction of a penny in a matter of 3 to 5 seconds, and it's been proven. And just wait until they get a load of interledger protocol. But you know, they're always trying to make it seem like Bitcoin is the future. It's not. It's going to become something of the past. This comes from Digital Asset Investor. And you know who's worse than the Bitcoin Maxis? The Litecoin Maxis. They always want you to think that Litecoin is going to replace XRP as well. He says, debate over, but look on the bright side. We did get you the views you were wanting. So Litecoin, average speed, 2.5 to 5 minutes. XRP, 3 to 5 seconds. Litecoin, average fee, a penny to 10 cents. XRP, fraction of a penny. Litecoin, scalability, 56 transactions per second. XRP, 1,500 transactions per second. And we are going to see micropayments on the XRP ledger as well. Wait until interledger protocol gets put in place. That's going to be a major game changer. Bitcoin and Ethereum to be excluded from EU crypto regulations. A speech from the Central Bank of Ireland confirms MiCA will not cover all crypto assets, with some of the most well-known crypto assets such as Bitcoin and Ether not within scope of the regulation given they have no identifiable issuer. So think about that. Since you cannot identify the issuer, it's excluded from MiCA. What do you think is going to happen with a few other cryptocurrencies as well? A lot of cryptocurrencies are going to start to disappear very soon because the United States is going to have very similar regulations to MiCA. They're not going to be much different because if they're totally different from one another, cross-border payments would never work. So where does that leave Bitcoin and ETH for the future? They're both going to become irrelevant as we watch the rise of utility. Remember, XRP maintains a competitive edge through its interoperability features and deflationary tokenomics. And even in this, they cite, this comes from Wisdom Tree, they cite XLM, limited institutional adoption. That's a weakness for XLM. Now, institutional adoption is starting to grow on Stellar. And I definitely would not sell my XLM because of what Wisdom Tree says. XLM is going to run with XRP. When XRP breaks out and goes on this epic run, it's taking XLM with it. Wisdom Tree also says there will be a supply shock for XRP before Bitcoin. Bitcoin should reach its max supply of 21 million units in 2140, and XRP should reach its max supply in the next few years. You know, they always cite scarcity as a use case for Bitcoin. Scarcity is not a use case, and scarcity is going to happen for XRP as well. And then you look beyond XRP, look at QNT. There's already less QNT than there is Bitcoin. I'm telling you, all the narratives that they've spun for years around Bitcoin, they're all going to collapse one after another. But when we talk about supply, distribution of XRP, this comes from Smoke as well. Ripple is not free to sell off the escrow. And we knew this as XRP holders. We see 1 billion tokens get released at the beginning of the month. Now, 700 to 800 million usually get locked back in. So that other 2 million XRP, it usually ends up in on-demand liquidity corridors, or institutional buyers buy up that XRP. But Ripple just cannot come out tomorrow and dump the escrow into the open market. This was all pre-planned. And I think Ripple did this because Ripple wanted to make sure that the price of XRP is stable over time. Plus, they used that escrow strategically to add even more utility to XRP. Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse says XRP could make the list of U.S. government asset stockpile. Now, we all knew this before, but they wrote a whole new article around this. I don't care if the U.S. government buys XRP or not. Honestly, I don't. Because we already know it's going to be utilized globally. Look at what's going on with SBI. Look at what's going on with other countries as well. They plan on using XRP for its actual use case. Now, the U.S., they could capitalize on this. They could use something like XRP to strengthen the dollar in its current form by moving it around the world in a matter of seconds for less than a penny. And I'm sure the U.S. is already looking at XRP. But when Brad Garlinghouse talked about this, what he was telling you is, we are finally getting a level playing field. It's no longer Bitcoin only. And you've seen other cryptocurrencies as part of that reserve as well. From rival to partner, Ripple's XRP could integrate with Swift's 11,000 plus banks. I don't think there's going to be any partnership here because the banks, they're already tired of Swift. The countries that are always getting hit with sanctions, they're also tired of Swift. They want something new, something better, something that actually settles. And all Swift is messaging. So as we go into the future, when there's an alternative that's better than what you're using today, we're going to see that transition. Swift's 11,000 customers are going to start transitioning over to RippleNet, and Ripple will eventually replace Swift. It's just a matter of time. I think that shift is going to start to happen through ISO 222. Vietnam closes another 86 million bank accounts. Now, I don't know if any of you heard about this, but it's because people are not meeting the biometric verification standards. In other words, digital ID. So they're closing bank accounts over in Vietnam. And I thought that this was going to just be one incident. And they also are pushing towards cashless society as well. But you see the same thing happening in the UK. And there's even a petition out on this. Do not introduce digital ID cards. And you see all the signatures on this petition already. Digital ID is going to be something, it's going to be part of the new financial system. They're going to tell you that it's to help you and keep you safe, when in fact, it's just them wanting to track your transactions. Think about it. If you made a transaction today using a $100 bill, $50 bill, $20 bill, that transaction is not tracked. But once you start going over to digital money, everything is going to be tracked. But this is going to start to happen in every single country. And you take notice, they're always trying to convince you that a stable coin is not a central bank digital currency. There's no real difference there. It's just who issues it. If the Fed was to issue a stable coin, it's a central bank digital currency. If Ripple launches a stable coin, it's a stable coin. But there's no difference. It's programmable money, and it's all tracked and traced. Anti-money laundering is the stablecoin use case no one talks about. There's not going to be any money laundering. Everything is going to be fully transparent, and that's why we have the big push for stablecoins. Now, here in the United States, they love the idea of stablecoins because they could tie the U.S. debt to those stablecoins, and they could send it into parts of the world that they couldn't access before. You know, nobody wants to buy the U.S. debt anymore. They need a whole new host of buyers, and they're going to find buyers all around the world. That's why going digital is such a big deal. It's a global event. It's like once this goes global, everybody's going to be impacted by this. And this is what you're invested in when you're invested into crypto. You know, people still don't realize that. We are in the middle of a fourth industrial revolution. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get rich off of something like a new financial system. As long as you position yourself now, you're not going to have to worry about this later. I'm telling you, they are going to have they're going to have parallel systems. You're going to have the cash system, the central bank digital currency system, or stablecoin system, and then you're going to have crypto rails. And eventually, they're going to do away with cash altogether. That is eventually going to happen. That's the end game of all of this. But if you're holding crypto, there's a good chance you will not be transacting in stablecoin unless you want to, or central bank digital currency unless you want to. You might be able to transact separately over another rail. Rich people are not going to have their transactions tracked or traced. They're going to run on a whole different system. And that's why I'm always telling you to enrich yourself off of crypto while you still can. You're holding the robot money. You're also invested in the fifth industrial revolution at the same time. But you already see the rise of AI. The rise of the new financial system is already happening slowly. Everything is pushing from what we're used to into an entirely new digital system. But digital ID is also going to be part of that as well. You know, we're going to know more as time goes on. But at the end game of all of this as well is we get rich by investing into XRP, XLM, XDC, and so on. Because we had vision enough to see that this was eventually going to happen. You know, if you went back to 2020, people were talking about this back then. But this looked like it was something that was going to happen in like 2040 or 2050. Nobody expected it to speed up the way it did. Now it's happening much quicker. I still think by 2028, we will most likely see the rise of the new financial system. And until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.